Alright, so for this video, I'm going to make what I think is going to be my hottest take of all time. Way hotter than the Back 4 Blood video. I know that one got me a couple of neat responses, and definitely one that will get the ire of many players, especially those who are a part of many big communities. But I do not want the conversation to end right here. In fact, I wholeheartedly encourage you to talk about this topic, and please explain to me why I am wrong. I would definitely love to read that. But anyways, let's get to the main part of the video. The common consensus with most players is that the developer of any game, Apex Legends, Overwatch 2, Halo Infinite, any of these live service games, is that the developer should prioritize community feedback. I somewhat agree with, having community feedback being important. I think community feedback really does tell you a lot about the health of the game and how it is being received, how people are playing it, how people are, enjoying the game. Or if they're not enjoying it, it tells you a lot. However, I don't believe that community feedback should be the number one priority for any live service game. In fact, I don't even think that it's actually the number one priority. I think the number one priority for any live service game is, monetization. But ignoring the whole business aspect of gaming, and instead focusing more on game design, I think that the most important part of a game in development is a developer knowing what game they're making, knowing exactly what they want to make, and then doubling down on it. And because of this, I believe that developers, especially modern ones, are taking community feedback way too far in consideration, and should definitely take back control of their games. Because I think that sharing the keys with the community in the active development of a game has actually made gaming a lot worse, and has led to all of this infighting between community members over how a live service game should be handled. And like a parent, a game developer should just, settle the bickering by just saying, no, this is what we're going to do. And the reason why is because communities have no common ground whatsoever. It's impossible. They will never be a hive mind. The only consistent factor of any live service game is the developer themselves. And by having the influence be spread out amongst the community, you get a game that gets patched and reworked in different parts that just leads it to terribleness. Now, don't get me wrong, community feedback, like I said, is very important, because consumers of any kind are very good at identifying problems. However, most of the time, if not all of the time, they are terrible at coming up with solutions. And this could be because of many reasons, because either A, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, B, they're not taking the entire community into account, or C, their solution might be short-sighted and definitely not effective for the long term. And I don't want anybody to take this personally. Look, I'm not calling you dumb or anything, or that your opinion isn't valuable. I know hearing this might hurt people's egos because they might think that they have the solution to everything. They know exactly what is gonna fix Apex's meta. They know exactly how the balancing of Overwatch 2 is gonna be fixed by doing this one simple change. But I know very well that somebody across the community is gonna be able to look at your points, look at your ideas, and say, dude, that is complete bullshit. You have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And they could be right, they could be wrong. Point is, this is what I mean when I'm talking about the community and why it isn't a reliable source for problem solving. Now let me take a pause from bashing the entire gaming community for a second, because while that might be a significant problem with modern games, in my opinion, it isn't the entire picture. It's only a piece of this shit pie. Because while the gaming community might be an unreliable source of information, I also believe that developers don't know what the fuck they're doing. And that's why I think they rely so much on problem solving from the community. Because they either can't or won't have the confidence to push through with an idea that they can very much call their own. And this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that, they don't have control of their own game. Because most of the changes or most of the updates take heavy influence from the community feedback. Which, again, I'm not saying is wrong, but the amount of changes and changelogs that have to do with community feedback really doesn't lead a lot of confidence with the developers. A lot of it is just after listening to player feedback rather than we decided to do this. I think Overwatch 2 is one of the biggest culprits of this. Where in a lot of the media, they talk about how the game wasn't going to have heavy counters, how they were moving away from that. However, you ask anybody and then you start noticing that the game actually kind of requires counters, specifically with the tanks, but that's still an aura throughout the game. Why don't they try to push for that even more? because they believe that it'll upset the community way too much. Obviously, we won't know if that'll happen unless it actually does happen, but my point is that Blizzard should definitely just say, alright, so this is the game that we want, let's make that game. And at this moment, they're not doing that. Apex Legends used to show that they knew what they wanted to make. You look a lot of the behind the scenes and you notice all of those changes that they made with the gameplay coming from Titanfall 2 to Apex Legends. They understood the game they wanted to make, and they understood the changes that were necessary to make that game. They knew they couldn't have high mobility and wall running in the game because that would put the pace way too high for a battle royale. And they knew that they couldn't include Titans because those would be astronomically overpowered. So while the community might have liked to have seen Titans and wall running and all of these special things from Titanfall 2, but in a battle royale, they understood what game they wanted to make. They understood what they wanted to do, and they doubled down on that. And because of that, we have Apex Legends and not Titanfall Battle Royale. Sure, a lot of the community was upset about that, but because of that, they were able to make a game that stood on its own with mechanics and gameplay that synergized well with itself. And Apex Legends turned out to be a well-designed game with proper pacing and gameplay fitting of a Battle Royale. However, I think that as time went on, they lost that hook. They relied way too much on the community, and because of that, now you have all these issues with movement and conflict of interest with gameplay. And in my personal opinion, they should have doubled down on the removal of tap strafing. They removed all that high mobility for a reason. That was a deliberate design decision. And instead of enforcing that design decision, they pussied out. And now anytime you have any kind of movement that comes out new season because of a new bug or whatever reason that goes against the design philosophy of original Apex, you can't remove it because otherwise the community throws a hissy fit and they know they're gonna get what they want. And that's why I believe that Respawn doesn't have control of their own game anymore. Instead, you have now a game controlled half by Respawn and half by a community that can't agree on anything, like aim assist. Is it cheating? Is it not cheating? I don't know. That's for Respawn to decide, not the community. But choosing a decision, that's way too hard. We'll just leave it there and let the community bicker about it. Anyways, here's 25 more skins that cost $30. I could continue on with examples, but I think you're kind of sick of me talking about developers now, you know, with Overwatch 2 and Apex Legends. I hope I proved my point there. That being that developers don't rein in their own game either because they can't or they won't, and because of that, the game is worse for it. What's the meta now? Oh, this one particular strategy? Is it going to make the game boring as fuck because there's only one good way to play the game? Yeah? Should we change it? Is the community gonna cry? Yeah? Then we won't. As long as they're still paying us money, it doesn't matter. Now, before I end this video, let me give you an example of one game that actually did it right, alright? And I know you're probably sick of me always bringing up, but I think that because Apex Legends and Overwatch 2 take so much fucking inspiration from Team Fortress 2, that maybe they should learn a thing or two from their forefathers. And here's the thing, alright? So when Team Fortress 2 was in development, there was a lot of people on the forums talking about how it was nothing like Team Fortress Classic. How it changed the formula way too much, how they removed grenades, how you can't have high movement with any other character, how heavy was slow, a lot of things. How Valve was making a huge fucking mistake not listening to the community by making Team Fortress 2 more like Team Fortress Classic. How they were catering too much to the console crowd by making the game so simplistic, which, looking back at that, completely fucking ridiculous. And that Team Fortress 2 would fail once it launched, because of how Valve just didn't listen to the community. Except Valve knew one thing, they knew what game they wanted to make, they knew exactly what they wanted to do, and they doubled down on that design philosophy. And what do you have? One of the most successful games of all time. One of the most well-designed games of all time. One of the most well-balanced game of all time, arguably. And one whose core gameplay is still enjoyed years after not receiving a major gameplay update. Now, excuse me from dick riding Valve for a second, for me to say that I understand that some developers are just fucking incompetent, alright? I'm looking at you, 343 Industries, okay? I don't know what the fuck you guys are doing with Halo. Thank you for Forge, by the way, that was nice. Would have really liked co-op split screen, but I guess that's asking for way too much. And I'll also include Blizzard in that incompetence pile over there. But my point is that developers really need to rein in on what the hell they're making. They need to have more confidence in what they're developing, actually. Because without that, if you give the keys to the community, you usually just have an amalgamation of ideas that don't flow together well. Either that or one side of the community is gonna get what they want and the rest are left in the dust. And even more community infighting will happen. So my message to any mainstream developer is take the keys back, alright? You made the game. You're continuing to make the game. I'm sure that you guys are very talented individuals. Otherwise that game wouldn't exist or be successful in the first place. Please stop using the community as a crutch. Grow a pair and design something good. Something that we don't know that we wanted. Something that might stink for the very few weeks of release, but is something that in time and in retrospect, we could never live without. You have the tools and the talent and our support. Now, go make some good games. Anyways, that's the end of the video. I want to hear from you. What do you think about this rant? What do you think about this hot take? Do you agree? Do you disagree? If you disagree, please leave your opinion down in the comment section below. I love taking the discussion further. And please, don't hold back, alright? Please, give me everything, you know? Fucking take my argument down to the very minute details and tell me why I'm wrong. I'd really enjoy reading that. If you found this video interesting, like it if you like it, dislike it if you disliked it. If you'd like to see more content just like this, make sure to subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel, consider subscribing to the Patreon. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you so much to my fellow patrons, and I'll see you guys at my next hot take. Peace out.